Hello everyone, welcome back to Twilight Tales. If you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because what you're about to hear will keep you wide awake at night, and trust me, you'll want someone else to be just as scared. Let's dive into tonight's story. The door that only opens at 3 a.m. It started when Maya inherited the old house on the edge of Oak Hollow, a dusty, sprawling Victorian manor with a sagging porch, creaky floors, and a history no one wanted to speak about. She'd never known her great-uncle Arthur, only that he'd died mysteriously in the house's east wing, and that the family had kept that detail buried like a corpse in the walls. Maya needed the house. After losing her job and crawling through months of unpaid rent and bill notices, a free place to live felt like divine intervention. She moved in with nothing but a suitcase, a coffee machine, and her cat, Salem. The first few days were unremarkable, aside from the creaks and groans that came with century-old floorboards and wind-blown windows. But then she found the door. It was in the basement. She discovered it while organizing the mess of cobwebbed shelves and rusted tools. Tucked behind a false wall, covered in dust and rot, was a narrow iron door that made her skin crawl just looking at it. It had no handle, only a round iron slot in the center. No keyhole, no hinges visible. Just a flat surface and that one strange circle in the middle. And carved into the frame above it, almost faded into the rotting wood, were the words, "Open only at 3 a.m., never before, never after." Maya laughed, at first thinking it was some elaborate prank or part of the house's weird charm, but when she tried to pull at it, it didn't budge. She knocked on it, got no echo, no reply. Just a cold, humming silence that sank into her bones. She told herself to leave it alone. But that first night she woke up at exactly 3 a.m. No alarm, no dream, just her eyes snapping open. The digital clock glowing 3 R's in blood-red digits, and downstairs, a sound. Not loud. Not aggressive, just a soft, metallic click. Her heart pounded as she slid out of bed, Salem twitching his ears from the window ledge. The air in the house felt heavier, almost wet. She moved slowly, every step like wading through syrup. Down in the basement, the iron door was ajar, just a crack, barely an inch, but open. She stared at it, throat dry, every instinct in her screaming to run. But curiosity, that deadly human trait, pulled her closer. She peered inside. Nothing but darkness. Not like a dark room, but something thicker, more alive. A void. She couldn't see even an inch past the crack. It was like the space behind it didn't exist in this world. Then she heard it. A whisper. Faint. Slithering. Maya. She slammed the door shut and bolted up the stairs. Locked. The basement. Shoved a dresser in front of the door for good measure. She didn't sleep the rest of the night. By daylight, the fear felt ridiculous. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe the door had never opened at all. But when she checked, the iron door was once again sealed. No way to open it, no crack, no sound. Still, that night, 3 a.m. Again. Click. She didn't go down this time. She stayed frozen in bed, every muscle rigid as the house breathed its night sighs. She thought she heard something moving in the vents, soft scraping like nails on metal. Salem hissed at the corner of the room, eyes wide, tail bushed. It became a pattern. Every night at 3 a.m. the door would open. Never fully. Just enough to let the whispers out. Maya, come closer. It's waiting. Each night the voice grew clearer, and it wasn't just calling her name anymore. It whispered things she hadn't told anyone. Things buried deep in her past. Memories of her father's screams the night he died in that fire. The guilt of stealing money from her dying mother's. Purse to buy drugs, regrets, shame, secrets. It knew them all, and someone was behind that door. One night, just past the first week, she woke up not in her bed, but standing in the basement, her hand pressed against the iron slot in the door, her breath fogging in the cold, cold air. It had pulled her. Sleepwalking, maybe. Or something else. She stayed awake every night after that, fighting the pull. But it got harder. The whispers turned seductive, threatening, comforting, all at once. And then on the 13th night, Salem disappeared. She searched the whole house, the yard, the trees, but he was gone. Until 3 a.m. This time, when the door opened, she heard meowing. May I help me? Her cat's voice, human-like, twisted, begging, and behind it, wet breathing. She lost it. Ran to the library downtown the next day, desperate to find anything about the house, her great-uncle Arthur, the door. She spent hours combing old town records. She found a clipping from 1932, a headline that read, 7 vanish in Oak Hollow home, occult ties suspected. Arthur's face was in the photo, much younger, standing beside a robed man whose eyes seemed almost wrong. The article said Arthur had been a member of something called the Threshold Circle, a fringe group obsessed with dimensional communion. They believed certain locations, certain doors, acted as gateways to other realms. Not heaven, not hell, something older, something beneath. The reporter mentioned an iron door found in the basement, which opened precisely at 3 a.m., and only then. The house was sealed, the group disbanded. Arthur vanished for decades, only to reappear in the house shortly before his death. She returned home shaking. That night, she stayed up with a camera. She would film it, prove it to herself. Do something. M-click, she zoomed in on the door. It opened wider this time, 2 inches, and in that blackness an eye, large, yellow. Blinking slowly, she screamed and dropped the camera. A wind burst from the crack, icy, foul, full of whispers and laughter. The door slammed shut on its own, but not before something long and thin whipped out of the crack and scratched across her leg. When she turned on the lights, 3 thin red lines were etched into her skin. Deep. Still bleeding. She tried to leave the house the next day, but her car wouldn't start. The road was blocked by fallen trees. Her phone had no service. A heavy fog had settled over the town. It wouldn't let her leave. That night, she blocked the basement with furniture, nailed it shut, taped crosses to the wall, did everything she could, but at 3 a.m., she heard the nails popping loose. Click, and then footsteps. Not fast, not loud, but wet, dripping, coming up the stairs. She armed herself with a kitchen knife, sat in the corner of the living room, trembling. The footsteps stopped at the basement door. A long silence. Then, knocking. 3 slow knocks, followed by a voice, raspy, unnatural. "Maya, you already opened it once. You're part of it now." She covered her ears, screamed. But the voice was inside her head now. That night she dreamed of endless halls made of flesh, where doors screamed when opened and things with no faces chased her through blood-stained corridors. When she woke up, the house was different. The walls seemed slightly warped. The clocks were all wrong. Salem's collar was sitting on the kitchen counter, snapped in half. And the whispers. They were everywhere now. In the pipes, behind the mirrors, in her dreams. She found herself staring at the basement door more and more, the need to open it again growing inside her like a cancer. On the 21st night she gave in. She waited at the basement door, hands trembling, the iron slot almost glowing with some inner heat. AM, click. This time the door swung all the way, open. What lay beyond was not a room. It was a corridor of endless black with walls that shimmered like oil and eyes that blinked without faces. Something waited there. Something wearing Arthur's voice. "Welcome home." She stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind her. They found the house weeks later after neighbors reported screams. Empty. Abandoned. No Maya. No Salem. Only a camera on the basement floor. Its final recording nothing but static and a soft, wet whisper. Another one joins the hall. So, if you ever find a door in your home that has no handle, no hinges, and a warning etched above it, do not open it. Especially not at 3 a.m. Because some doors were never meant for us, and some things don't like being locked away. Thanks for watching Twilight Tales. If you like this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, because the more people who hear the tale, the less alone you'll be when the knocking starts. Good night, and don't open the door.